This is the whole damn show. Rob Van. Damn. Whoa. You got that whole arm in there? Whoa. Damn. You're watching Counted Out.
You are listening to Count It Out with Mike and Tyler.
Well, we are live, pals, and welcome to another edition of the Bill Apter Steel of Approved Count It Out with Mike and Tyler. My name is Tyler. I am joined by Mike. What is going on, Mike?
We're here. I'm happy. It's Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
It might as well be Christmas Eve for me, anyways.
Why?
'Cause
You going on vacation?
No, tomorrow's the NFL schedule.
I'm hearing lots of rumors that week
very
one,
excited.
Buffalo Bills against Cincinnati Bengals, Sunday Night Football. That's the rumor on the street.
I'm very excited to see the schedule. I'm trying to put together a big road trip this year, and the schedule is going to dictate how my road trip goes. So I'm
Well,
very excited.
I didn't get invited on a road trip.
Yeah, you didn't. We didn't get the schedule, you douchebag.
Mike's putting together a road trip and I'm not invited, guys.
Well.
I guess it's going to be counted out with Mike going forward.
Well, we haven't discussed it yet, but if you want to come to Lambeau with me, let's go.
Lambo.
Yeah.
Well, fucking cheeseheads.
Trying to do something nice for somebody.
Well,
Other than that, what do we got, man?
a lot of
busy,
stuff.
busy week in wrestling. There was like 3 shows this weekend, like big shows all on Saturday.
Yeah, good time to be a wrestling fan. We had
Lots of wrestling this weekend.
we had Backlash.
Mm-hmm.
We had Maple Leaf Pro.
Mm-hmm.
And what am I missing? What was the third one?
There was the 10-year anniversary of Chinlock Wrestling.
Chinlock Wrestling.
Right there in Kingston. A lot of our friends, a lot of people we know were on that show. Congratulations to Jan Murphy and the rest of the Chinlock crew. 10 years is a big deal, man.
It is a big deal.
So good for you guys. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, they had a great show. The Godfather was there, Bushwhacker Luke, Sin Bodie, friend of the show, Jimmy Corderas was there, Moose, Tommy Dreamer. Looked like they had a great turnout at the Fort. I believe it was Fort York is what it's called.
Fort Henry.
Fort Henry in Kingston, Ontario.
And if you go the opposite of friend of the show, Danny Franchise was there.
Yeah. Danny Franchise. I saw him get the shit chopped out of him by Carew. I don't know if you opened that link I sent you.
I did. I saw
great.
it. Yeah, love it.
It was great. Yeah, I mean, congratulations to Chinlock Wrestling. 10 years is a great thing. Can't wait to see what they do in the future. Where do you want to start today, though, Mike? Do you want to start WWE or do you want to start with Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling?
Let's start with Maple Leaf. I think we're gonna spend some time on Backlash. So let's start with Maple Leaf because I didn't get to see the show. I haven't watched it yet. And I've heard a couple things here and there, but I don't know a lot. I do know that Josh Alexander is your inaugural Maple Leaf champion. I do know that Giselle Shaw is your inaugural women's champion. Outside of those 2 things, I don't know a whole lot.
The show looked incredible. I have not got a chance to go back and watch it yet either, but sold out at Maple Leaf Gardens or, the whatever the new Maple Leaf Gardens is. They had the ramp, which was phenomenal. If anyone that is a Toronto wrestling fan knows the old school ramp in Maple Leaf Gardens, very, very cool to see. They had a great lineup of talent there. It was really nice to see them honor a lot of the legends as well from the history of Maple Leaf Gardens. And we saw, current stars and we saw what the future stars could be as well. Really cool to see a lot of our friends get to compete on that stage.
That's right.
Bryce Hanson, Vaughn Vertigo, our friend Reverso, Brett Money Banks, all got opportunities to compete at Maple Leaf Gardens, which I thought was incredibly awesome to see.
Yeah, very cool for their careers.
And just a packed house, and I hope this isn't the last time that we see wrestling at Maple Leaf Gardens with Maple Leaf Pro. I think they're
I
really
think
on
it's
to
going to be a
something
thing.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Scott Demore doing a great job with this promotion.
I think
The
they're going to be bouncing between Windsor and Toronto on the regular. I
On
think we'll see a
the
lot.
next show will be in Montreal in
Oh, no kidding!
July.
I didn't know
Yeah,
that. Nice.
next show in Montreal in July. I believe PCO will be having a big hand in promoting that show behind the scenes. So
Mm,
very, very cool to see. But yeah, this show it was a throwback to everything. We had an NWA title match on it with Tom Lattimore defending against Stu Grayson.
no-
A great triple threat between Speedball Mike Bailey, Michael Oku, and Gabe Kidd. There was Josh and QT Marshall, so you got a little AEW flavor on there. Josh worked
Well,
twice.
it's nice to see the AEW allowed their some of their talent to go over for Maple Leaf Pro.
Yeah.
I know Tony does let his stars do it sometimes, but he also can say no. So the fact that he didn't say no, he let a lot of his guys go over. That was very cool.
Well, his guys are allowed to work indies as long as it doesn't conflict with their bookings for AEW. Like their talent
Yeah,
are open to doing indies.
but he always has the right to say no to anyone,
Yeah, I'm sure he does.
and he's a piece of shit. So I always expect him to.
Yeah, I mean, he's been pretty good, I think, with letting talent do things. I think AEW's been a pretty good place when it comes to seeing talent exchanges and
Mhm.
allowing talent to go other places and welcoming talent as well. Say what you want about Tony, but I think that's definitely one thing you can't knock the guy for. He's been pretty good with that.
For the for there's a few questionable things I would put into question, but for the most part, I'm gonna say probably up to 90%. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of really too many glaring examples off the top of my head. So,
Hmm.
but you're
Uh,
just are you just looking to bash people today?
no, because it'll lead to me bashing more people. Because the examples I can think of is him pulling people off of GCW shows, but I am in no fucking mood to defend GCW today. So,
Yeah,
so we're not even going to touch those situations.
we'll talk about that one in a
Yeah.
little bit because we are going to talk about the legendary career of Sabu a little bit later on. Top seven Sabu career moments as we
Mm.
tragically lost him this week. I'm actually, and you know me, I'm not the biggest Tony Khan guy on the planet, but when it comes to that GCW stuff, I wasn't against him either doing that, and we've talked about this on the show.
I'm not the biggest Tony Khan guy on the show. I'd like to bring up several weeks leading up to our WCW versus Dynamite episode of you just chanting Tony's name for three
Tony,
straight weeks.
Tony, Tony. We do not speak about the god of wrestling, Tony Khan, in a negative light. Without him, we would be nothing.
Oh
We would be
shit.
nothing, Mike. I say nothing.
I'm hoping that one of us, if not both of us, can make it to the next time MLP hits Toronto. I would definitely like to be at one of those shows.
Yeah, that would be cool to get to do that. And you have got to see wrestling in that venue. I have not, so I
I
would.
have. I got to see ROH perform at the Garden, which was very cool because we didn't expect it. I never knew. Like growing up, the Garden was just the Garden, right? Like you just knew it as Maple Leaf Garden. I didn't know they changed their name after the Leafs left. I didn't know that it's technically now the Mattamy Center. So I didn't grow up in this area. I don't know Toronto from fucking Adam. So when Adam and I went to an ROH show back in 19, our tickets said Mattamy Centers. We're like, okay, I don't know where this is. And I'll never forget our reaction together when we're walking across the street. Adam stops and he puts his hand on me. He goes, look, and we look across the street. We see the infamous building. The lettering is still there. Maple Leaf Garden. And we both were just like, we understood right there what we were about to walk into.
Oh, that's cool. I
So
didn't know
much
you guys didn't
history in
know.
that building. Yeah, we didn't know. The minute we looked and saw that building and realized where we were, it just made that show 10 times cooler for us because we were about to, it didn't matter how good or bad that show was about to be. We were about to watch wrestling and quite possibly the most historic wrestling building in this country. You can say I'm sure there's some buildings in Calgary that can dispute, and there's been epic shows at the Sky Dome, but the Garden for years.
The
It
garden
was
blows it all away. I think
the
it's the number
mecca
one.
of professional wrestling in Canada for a long time.
I think the top ones in Canada for sure would be the Garden, the Pavilion in Calgary, the Forum in Montreal was a big
Mhm.
one.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, you could say the Dome, I guess. I don't know. I hate the Dome.
No, but even the Dome, it had a handful of great shows, but nothing like it wasn't the home of professional wrestling the way that Maple Leaf was. You know what I mean? The Garden was the home. Jack and Frank Tunney made that building into, I know most anybody who doesn't watch wrestling thinks of that place as the home of the Maple Leafs. Jack and Frank made that place into the home of professional wrestling for
100%.
years.
So many
For
people got their
years.
start there. And as we record this on Tuesday afternoon, we're getting ready for Dark Side of the Ring. A guy that made his home in Toronto was the Sheik.
That's right.
He was at
How
the
how weird is it and just creepy almost that you know they announced that this week was the original Sheik on Dark Side, and then Sabu tragically passed away.
yeah.
It wasn't just 100% a coincidence because I saw the trailer drop like the day before he passed away.
Oh yeah,
So it's
the trailer
yeah.
dropped last week.
So it's not like he died and they're like, okay, well, let's drop the Sheik episode early. No, it's
Uh,
just weird that how it happened like that. And the Sheik's going to be on and Sabu's on this episode.
yeah, he's
So
all over it. I think there's
yeah,
going to be a lot of Sabu career retrospect on this episode as well.
for sure.
Have you, I know you've been in a Ted Lasso world the
No,
last few weeks, but have you
we will
watched any
talk about
Dark Side of the Ring?
No, we will talk about Dark Side yesterday or next week. Sorry, I finished yesterday. I finished Ted Lasso, so I will be back on catching up on all my wrestling.
So
Next week we can
I'll
talk
have a
about Dark Side.
podcast host that watches wrestling again starting next week.
Yes, I'm sorry, man. I became my world was Ted Lasso for the last 3 weeks.
Good show.
That's all I watched. I could not watch anything else. If I had spare time, it was Ted Lasso.
Can't beat it.
It's over now though, so I'm back.
Well, I will say that the Billy Jack Haynes episode of Dark Side of the Ring might be the craziest episode of Dark Side of the Ring of all time. It is
Well,
fucking wild.
we haven't seen the Sheik episode yet, so
I cannot imagine the Sheik is crazier than Billy Jack Haynes. I can't imagine any human being crazier than Billy
yeah,
Jack Haynes. And if there is one, I don't want to meet them.
true enough.
Let me tell you.
If they've done episodes on New Jack and Nick Gage, if those guys can't put Billy Jack hands down, no one can.
No,
No one.
no, you combine them and Billy Jack still got him beat.
So, like you said before, this week was Backlash.
Yeah,
We got to see another last match. We're going to see a lot of last matches in the next year, but Cena and Orton, I think, is a big one because whether people have conflicting views on this. Some people think that the feud went too long, or they did too much, or not enough, or whatever. I enjoyed their feuds. I think of Randy as a top three opponent for John.
no, 100%.
So to have that happen in St. Louis for Randy, I think was phenomenal. And
They were great.
yeah.
I only watched two matches off the card. I watched Pat McAfee and Gunter, which was entertaining, and I watched the main event, which I'll get into in a minute. The full card rundown, I thought, it was a pretty run-of-the-mill card. The Fatal Four-Way at the beginning, we saw the debut of Jeff Cobb
Mhm.
into the WWE. I
Yep,
like pairing him up with Solo. I think that he's a
makes sense.
it's
Yeah,
a great spot for him because I think it's just a matter of time before Jacob Fatu is done with
exactly.
that group. And
Yeah,
I mean, Jeff Cobb and Jacob
and
Fatu have a great history together already,
exactly.
and I would love to see more of that. And it's a good muscle guy for Solo, which I think he needs, which is great.
Agreed.
Dirty Dom retaining the IC title, which is fantastic. Also, looks like we're slowly on our way to a Dom and Finn Balor match at some
Which
point, probably SummerSlam,
has
if
to
I had to
happen
guess.
eventually. Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, and then Pat McAfee and Gunter, I thought it was great. I thought that they made Gunter look strong while not destroying Pat McAfee. Even not that they needed to protect Pat, but I thought it was great. I love the callback to WrestleMania 5. Michael Cole did the leg pull spot on Gunter like Bobby Heenan,
Oh, did he?
which I really enjoyed that. McAfee, yeah, he looked pretty good. I'm not a big McAfee guy these days, but I did really enjoy that promo he cut a couple weeks ago where he was standing on top of the desk. I don't know
I
if you
love
saw
that. Yeah,
that. It was
yeah, I did. Did.
great promo. Yeah, and he always delivers in the ring. Say what you want about the guy, but he always steps up and knocks it out of the
His
park.
the stuff he did with Adam Cole was phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely it was. And even stuff against he had a great match with Baron Corbin
Mhm.
and like he's done good stuff. So yeah, I was really happy with that match. I thought it was great. We got Gunter putting himself back in the title picture now.
Yeah,
He's
I'm gonna guess that's gonna happen at. Oh, they're saying it's happening the night, the Raw after Money in the Bank.
yes.
That's odd to me,
Well,
but
we're
okay,
getting Logan Paul and Jey Uso at Saturday night's main event,
okay.
which
So what?
I love that match. I
So
think it's
what's
a
So what's happening at Money in the Bank then?
probably no Jey Uso would be my guess.
Strange.
I mean, there's Jey Uso wasn't on the card last night either, right? Or
But again,
Backlash, right?
again, why it's strange? Don't keep him off two in a row.
Yeah, I mean,
You can keep John off of Money in the Bank.
yeah.
Don't keep Jay off. I don't know. I think that's weird.
I mean, I don't think that we're surprised seeing Jey Uso get this type of title run. I think it's exactly what we all expected it to be. He's not ever going to be the focal point of the whole company.
No,
And
but you can, put him on a show.
yeah, well, he's going to be a focal point of Saturday night's main event. He'll be probably the opening match, which was a good spot to be in against Logan Paul. And it looks
Mm,
like we're going to get John Cena and R-Truth, if I had to take a guess, at Saturday
for
night's main
sure.
event.
Yeah, that's where that match should happen, and I don't mean that in any disparaging way.
No, it's a
Uh,
perfect place for it.
that's a perfect place for that match. They're trying to make main event a little bit bigger. They're not trying to make it just some show.
Hmm.
They're really, putting a lot behind Saturday night's main event. So a match like this makes sense. And for those complaining, being like, it's like why is he wrestling a mid Carter? I want you guys to remember something. He's John fucking Cena. If he wants to wrestle Hornswoggle next week, you should shut up, let it happen, and enjoy it. At this point in the game, John, I'm guessing, I don't know this, but I'm guessing John has a short list of people he really wants to work in the next year, has handed it to the powers that be, and they're trying to make it work for John because they respect him. Otherwise, John's just doing what he's told. But he wants a couple guys. He's very good friends with R-Truth. R-Truth is probably on his personal list. Let's enjoy this match. On top of that, Truth is a phenomenal hand. Anybody who doesn't want to see their match, I can't remember what year it was. I
Capital
think,
Combat.
yeah, that was great. They can go and have a decent match with the characters they're playing now. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be very entertaining. I'm actually very excited for this match.
Well, but and you missed the biggest focal point of this whole thing of why they're having the match is from an on-screen standpoint. R-Truth has been John Cena's biggest fan. He's been his favorite wrestler growing up. Remember all this stuff,
Love
right?
that.
But it's been going on for years and years and years. Now,
Yeah.
I will say, I really, really enjoyed John Cena versus Randy Orton.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they had a great match. It was very classic Cena Orton. It was very slow to start and it built into something really good. I absolutely hated the finish with R-Truth being involved though.
Yeah, I guess.
I did not enjoy it. I did not think him running out to stop the punt. It just uh, I did not enjoy it. I think that
I mean, from a storyline standpoint, it makes sense. He doesn't want to see John the villain. He's this guy who doesn't want to see John make bad decisions,
mhm.
the wrong decisions. So he's trying to insert himself and make John not do this anymore. I think could have picked a different time to do this spot. It didn't have to be in the middle of Randy Orton versus John Cena, for Christ's
That's
sake.
my problem.
But the
We
spot itself makes sense.
we could have been though. We could have been in this exact same situation without Truth doing that in the match because Truth could have still just came in during the press conference and got put through the table like he did.
Yeah.
right? We didn't need him involved in the main event. I didn't like that personally,
No, I can see why you didn't like it. I don't
but
care either way, but I can understand why you don't like it.
yeah, I just to me, especially for Cena Orton's last match, I would have liked to have seen them just have the match.
Hmm.
I just didn't think R-Truth, and again, no disrespect to R-Truth, but I just don't think that he fits with John Cena and Randy Orton. I think that he fits with John Cena separately,
Yeah,
but this is John Cena's probably biggest rival. Let's not get R-Truth involved with it.
yeah. I mean, I don't think he's involved in that anymore, anyways. Because I think that is done. I think Randy's out of it. I don't think I they were gonna have that match and then done.
Where do we go
So
with Randy Orton from
I
here?
don't know, man. That's a good question.
Randy's in
Um,
this magical place where he's having
because
fun and just doing what he wants to do.
almost any other time I'd be like, just take him off TV for a bit. But he just got back to TV, so I don't know, man. Fucking anything. There's nothing Randy can do right now that's wrong. Randy, you're 100% right. He's in this magical place where you can almost do anything with Randy right now, and it's gonna work.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't
Uh,
think of it. I can't think of where Randy goes right now off the top of my head either, to be honest.
what's Drew doing? Maybe something with Drew. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah, I
sure.
think I don't know where Drew goes either, right? Drew could be missing some time. He took a really nasty fall at Backlash.
Oh, did he? No
Yeah,
way.
he took a big choke slam from Damian Priest. He was supposed to go through a couple tables, but
Hmm.
they overshot a little bit and Drew hit his head real hard on the concrete.
That
Yeah,
sucks.
it was no good. But Drew, by the way, Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest, like what a great little rivalry they've turned their stuff into.
And you've turned around on that, which I'm glad because when
Yeah,
it first started, you didn't have high hopes for that, and
I'm not a big Damian Priest guy.
I I'm a take him or leave him kind of guy.
I have no problem with him. He's just not my
Yeah,
cup of tea. I think he's
yeah,
tremendously talented and I think he's a great worker. I don't think there's anything wrong with him. I'm talking about purely from a fan standpoint. He just doesn't resonate with me as a fan,
yeah,
but it's not nothing to do with him. He's just not my I was never an Undertaker guy when I grew up either. Just those characters were never they never resonated with me. Kane
sure,
I didn't like, right?
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I'm really pumped up with it. We got Cena and R-Truth.
Yet Tyler owns a Mordecai T-shirt. I just don't
Hey,
understand.
he's the white lightning, all right? Mr. Mordecai. He was the opposite of the dark side. Um, I will say John Cena, R-Truth. It'll be a fun little thing.
Yeah.
So where do we go with Cena next? Because we're heading into a couple big shows. We have Money in the Bank coming up, and we
Um.
have SummerSlam coming up.
Yeah. Is there not something in between there too? Aren't they doing
I think there's
something
a
in
Saudi
Saudi? Isn't there?
show.
There's a Saudi show. You know they're gonna bring John to Saudi.
So where do we
Because
go?
he won't be here by the time Royal Rumble comes around. So
Where do we go?
this will be his last Saudi show.
Do we do CM Punk and Cena? Not at Saudi, obviously, but do we do
Why
them
not
at
at
Mon
Saudi?
Well,
No,
because
I don't
they've
think
got the
John's got money in the
history.
bank.
They've got the history at Money in the Bank with the big match.
True.
Do you revisit that? Do you save that for
I
SummerSlam?
don't think that's a horrible idea, but I honestly in my gut, I don't think John's at money in the bank this year.
I don't know. I know his dates are listed, but I
Yeah.
don't know off the top of my head here. I can pull that up on the Google machine. I thought he was advertised for Money in the Bank.
Maybe you're right. I just from the way they're booking things, because you can't be at every pay-per-view. So where do you pull him? I think you pull him from Money in the Bank. I think that makes sense.
Uh, yeah, I'm gonna pull it up right now. Every confirmed date for John Cena's retirement tour. So let's see if we can pull this up here. Oh, here we go. He will be at Money in the Bank June 7th.
Okay. All right. Well,
So we're not going to
so
see John Cena again until Saturday night's main event. And then we are going to see him on a SmackDown May 30th and then Money in the Bank on June 7th.
wait. He's at Money in the Bank on June 7th.
Yes.
So once again, Sean Gibson wasn't able to book John Cena for Golden Glory.
Unbelievable, eh?
Come on, Sean.
Get it together, Gibson.
Oh,
My return to Barry Wrestling. I'm super excited to get back to Barry Wrestling. I've been
I'm
gone for
hoping
2 months.
I'm really hoping it's my return to Barry Wrestling.
That's
I
also
should.
the same day. They're doing 2 shows in one day, the WWE, for because they're doing that
Yeah, they're
worlds
doing
the
that. They're doing
worlds
that Triple H.
collide.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the Triple A show. Yeah,
that's cool.
it'd be a big day.
Got anything else
So,
wrestling
so,
related you
so,
want to
so
talk
I,
about?
I have a couple things. I'm still trying to think of about the question you just asked. Where do you go with Cena after this? I think he like Punk's got to come no later than SummerSlam.
You got to think you're gonna either throw back Punk and Cena.
I'm hoping at one point we get AJ Styles, and I have 100% turned around and changed my tune after our discussion last week. I really started thinking. I was always on the page that at least by Survivor Series, if not before, you have to find a way to turn John back face. And I'm like, how are you going to do that with the way he's been going? It's been so hot. How are you going to do it? After last week's discussion, you and I know that's no longer my stance. I'm now at the point where I think he stays heel until Ruthless Aggression. His last match at Ruthless Aggression is him and Cody. One last time, where Cody, where the story being told is Cody going to change his tune and play John's game and play the dirty role in order to win, or is he going to stick to his guns and show that he doesn't have to do that to win, which he does. He wins the title. And when the whole thing is done, John understands that look what you've done. He turns back face after he loses the title when he says goodbye to the fans, rides off in the sunset.
There was a very powerful moment at the end of John Cena versus
Which
Randy Orton.
which a lot of people are taking as the beginnings of his face turn. And now I don't want it.
I don't think that we're seeing the beginnings of a face turn. I just think that it's just showing the internal struggle that he's having.
Right. And then include in right before R-Truth came out in the press conference the things he was saying to the media. I got to be nicer to you guys. I got to be better to you. I got to be better for you. And who knows where he would have went with that if R-Truth didn't come out, right?
I'm
It's
hoping it'd be
interesting.
a clickbait swerve because that was the best thing ever.
Yeah, that clickbait stuff is the best thing I've ever seen. Um, I'm very excited to see where the rest of the John Cena stuff goes. I really am.
Yeah, it's been good.
As far as other wrestling things go, I just want to give a huge shout out to former wrestler, maybe future wrestler. I don't know where he stands, but Big E. I want to give a big shout out for Big E because he was on the pre-show panel before Backlash, and he said something I think that needs to be said, and I'm so glad he had the balls to say it out loud. And he talked about on that panel, he talked about how why is it we're always talking about women and men differently when we talk age? When we talk about men's age, we have wrestlers who are now in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and we don't bat an eye. R-Truth is in his 50s.
Mhm.
Jericho was in his 50s and still going strong.
Sting.
Sting. AJ Styles is in his
Yep.
40s, and we don't bat an eye. But the minute a woman is in her 30s, it's like, okay, so when are you going to wrap it up? When are you ready to go? And we need to stop that narrative. And I think Big E said it so eloquently. There's one person I think is doing a great job at being the exception to that, and that's Asuka. Asuka's my age. Asuka was born the same year I was born. So
Oh,
Asuka
is
is
she?
yes, Asuka is 44 years old. And Asuka only got signed to the company 10 years ago. She only started wrestling 10 years before that. She started in Japan, they usually start very young, especially the women. But she didn't start wrestling until she was in her 20s. She was 24 when she started wrestling, and then came to WWE at 34. So already she's an exception to the rule. I hope they use her and Charlotte and Becky and these women to keep pushing that narrative. Let
Well, I
them
think
wrestle until they can't wrestle anymore.
the first person that really started bringing this to light was Mickey James.
Hmm.
She was really a pioneer for that, and I thought Becky Lynch had a great interview a couple weeks ago, where or maybe it's last week now, where she was like, why is it that I'm being compared to old people? Like I'm past my prime when I'm not. I'm younger
Hmm.
than, and she named all these guys. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree, man. I think it's ridiculous.
And it is ridiculous. And I'm glad that, people don't want to talk about this kind of stuff. It's uncomfortable to talk about. And the fact that Big E had the balls to step up on WWE TV and talk about it, good for him.
I just like for me, I guess I feel bad about this. Like I've never even thought about it because like that doesn't enter my mind. Like I
Yeah.
don't think, you know what I mean? Like I watch Mickey James. I don't think like, "Oh wow,
No,
she's like 40. Oh my
yeah,
God."
yeah,
Like I just don't think like that. I'm just like, "Wow, she's incredible." Like so maybe I
exactly.
should open my eyes a little bit more and get on this train as well because I don't know. I've just never looked at women and men differently in that regards.
And unfortunately, too many people do.
Well, the world's stupid.
I want to talk about your favorite wrestler in the whole world for a minute.
Which one?
The newly released Braun Strowman.
Wow, your
Uh,
boy.
Turns out he's going to have a WWE produced television show.
Oh yeah?
Have you heard about this?
No.
So it came up in the quarterly meeting or whatever for NBC. NBC has greenlit a TV show that's going to be produced by WWE. The star will be Braun Strowman, and it's basically him just going around city to city eating as much food as he fucking can.
What a great concept.
It's just him eating. That's all it is. I'm actually quite excited for this. I think that'd be very
He
cool.
is an entertaining guy. Like I've listened to a couple podcasts that he did. He did one with Gallows and Anderson and Chris Jericho, and it was very entertaining. So I mean, he'll be a funny guy for sure. I think the show will be entertaining. That guy could probably eat a gallon of food.
And the last thing I want to talk about before we move on to talk about Sabu, I want to talk about this email that got leaked. Have you heard or seen about this?
Is this the one that
Otis.
Otis put out?
Yes,
Getting
yeah.
charged for catering? I don't know. Is this like legit? What is this?
Well, Otis put it out, so I'm going to say it's legit, but it came from the talent relations department of WWE saying that certain items were going to be taken off the catering cart, catering whatever, because people were taking advantage and eating too many of them, and it's like really like sugary desserts that's on here. Here's my problem. I don't give a fuck what they have on their catering, and it doesn't affect my life at all. But I want your opinion on this because I have questions. I'm gonna read this verbatim. It says, while these items will no longer be available free of charge, they will still be available for purchase at the designated catering station. $1 per item for male talent and staff. $1.50 per item for female talent and staff. Why the fuck are they charging females more for this?
The
Make
why are
this
they?
make sense, Tyler.
Well, I mean, first of all, we're talking about $1 billion company. Why are they charging $1 for desserts?
Right.
Let's start there. Second of all, I mean, Otis is probably the reason why this thing got put into effect. Not because he's a big boy, but because if you were to tell me to pick five people that would be notorious for stealing desserts on that roster, I mean, listen, I'm guilty too. I when I used to work at a car dealership, when they used to do like barbecues for like our customers, me and the
Yeah,
boys would go and we're putting back three burgers, three hot dogs, about four cans of pop, and three
yeah.
chocolate bars a piece. We were hoarders, so all the power to it, man. But
Last night was my kids. It was the Beaver Scouts annual picnic they have at the very end of the year. I kicked a scout in the fucking back of the head so I could get a second burger.
sounds
Come
like they
on,
had it coming.
that's it. Don't get in between me and my barbecue, man.
That's right.
I don't know. I had to bring that up just because I think it's such a silly situation. Why are you charging men and women differently? I don't understand this.
Why are they charging anything differently? It's just silly.
All right, man. It's time to get homicidal, genocidal, possibly a little suicidal. Let's talk about Sabu.
Yeah, very, very sad news. Very a lot of controversy surrounding this, a lot of
Yeah.
Memories of Sabu flooding in. Very, very unique stuff. First things first, let's send our condolences to the friends and family of Sabu. Um, Very controversial man.
Can you
In
remind me, did his wife not pass away not long ago as
Yeah, she
well?
did.
Yeah,
Yes, a couple
okay.
years ago.
Right.
So the genie's the genie there.
Yeah. But it wasn't that long ago she passed away,
Yeah,
right?
it was only a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So I know he's been really in bad shape since that. He's
Hmm.
been having a hard, and rightfully so. He's been having a very hard time. Let's start from an in-ring point of view.
Sure.
Sabu, guy changed a lot in the wrestling business. He innovated a different style
Yeah.
that influenced a lot of people. Um, he
Yeah, he was never my guy. He was never my cup of tea, but I can't take that you like away from you when you have so many people that do call him their favorite wrestler.
just like
It's not something that I ever really understood, but I get it
well,
from that standpoint because he was so different.
you gotta look back at that time period as well. And a guy like Todd Gordon said it. He said it on our show that wrestling in 1993 was not for him.
Yeah.
There were garbage men and gookers and whatever. And then all of a
We
sudden,
don't talk about that garbage man anymore.
oh yes, that's right. He's a bad boy.
we we don't want to know what's in those garbage cans.
I guess Duke the Dumpster has been a long time subscriber to RF videos after all.
Huge pop.
Yeah,
Good
I
job.
was
I
proud
like
of
that.
that one. Because they're all diddle boys. But either way, but in 1993, all of a sudden, you get this guy Sabu rolling out, getting carried out on a gurney with chains around him.
97, it must have been earlier than that. No.
No, 93.
Oh, I think you
90,
said 97. Sorry.
93, 94 is when
Okay.
Sabu first kind of burst on the scene in
Sure.
North
Yeah. No,
America,
that makes
right?
sense. That makes sense.
And especially with ECW, he had his debut match in 93 with ECW, I believe, against Taz. And he
Hmm.
came out with the Hannibal Lecter mask and they had
That's
him in the
right. Yeah.
chains and he's fighting to get out. And it was just like this guy was like from the insane asylum and he comes out with scars all over his body and he is just so reckless. Like
Yes.
he does not care. He's a wild brawler. He's probably terrifying to watch. Like I
100%.
was scared of Sabu when I first saw him. Like
Yeah.
he was the guy that was like, that famous saying, well, I know that wrestling is fake, but that guy, like, and
Yeah.
he was that
Yeah.
guy. And
There was nothing fake about Sabu.
I
I
know for a fact that there are stories out there that like when he got to like say WCW, like the boys were actually scared to work him in
Yeah, I
WCW.
would be terrified to work Sabu. The people who went out of their way to request to work for Sabu to work Sabu, I think have to be mentally ill.
Yeah.
There has to be something wrong with you to want to be. There's a big difference between, hey man, you're working Sabu tonight, and going, okay, I'll do what I have to do because it's my job. And hey, can I work Sabu? I want to die today.
Well, and there are some people that he just clicked incredibly well with in the ring.
Sure. I
You
mean,
know,
Him and
him and
Van
Van
Dam
Dam.
always put on great shows.
Him and
Um,
McFoley had great matches. Him
yeah.
and X-Pac when X-Pac was the Lightning Kid, they
Okay.
had
Yeah.
they
Sure.
had
Sure. Sure.
big time game-changing matches. And a very
I
underrated
want.
one of his rivals is Crowbar.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say
Hey,
Jerry Lynn, but
Jerry
yeah,
Lynn, they had good matches.
yeah, but Crowbar, you're right.
Him and Crowbar, like Crowbar credits his whole career to Sabu.
Yeah.
Um, Sabu, what I liked about him too, like his is that he was sloppy, but it worked. Like he did this
I
great.
every time you say that, I picture him falling off the R
Yeah, but I
at
mean, but
Montero.
it made him more can't miss TV. Like he
Yeah.
wasn't this crisp, like
No,
he everything
he
he
was Botchamania's dream
yeah,
wrestler.
but it worked for him and it made him feel like more reckless. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like it
Yeah.
worked for that character. Like the fact that he wasn't doing these, Ricochet level or Evan Bourne level shooting star flip things, but he would
No.
do these flips and sometimes he would just fall and wipe out and he would just get up like a madman and run around and do it again. Like it
Yeah.
worked so well for him and for that character. He was very old school. You could tell, and after we watched Dark Side of the Ring tonight, like yeah, I think we'll see more of why he was like that.
Well,
But
100%. He was brought up by a man who personifies old school. You don't get more old school than the original Sheik.
mhm.
He and to sit under that kind of learning tree, I can only imagine what knowledge Sabu has in his head, you
It
know?
I also think though that was part of the reason why he wasn't very well looked at by a lot of wrestling fans as well, because I think he always kept a shade of that old schoolness even in this new school era. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like he was very closed off sometimes, and sometimes he wasn't. Like he was very hit and miss with it for sure. But I know that for sure in the with the wrestling community, like you can see all the outpouring of love that he's been receiving. Um, Little known fact that Sabu actually was supposed to be the Sultan in the WWE. I don't know if you knew that or not.
I don't know if I knew that.
He was supposed to sign on to be the Sultan. That was
Yeah.
all in place, and he backed out at the deal when he found out that the Iron Sheik was going to be his manager and not the original Sheik. And he said, "I'm not doing this shit," and they gave it
Yeah,
to Rikishi.
that's kind of slap in the face because like I don't know, maybe they'll tackle it on Dark Side. I never knew if there was any animosity between the Sheiks. Um, uh, there's obviously a reason why he had to change his name to the original Sheik. He wanted to, you know, differ himself from the Iron Sheik. But did he hate the Iron Sheik for taking the name? I don't know.
I don't
So
know either. I know that.
if there was any animosity there, I could see why Sabu would be a little upset by that.
Well, and by the time the Iron Sheik like rose to prominence, also like the original Sheik's time as being a main eventer at least was pretty much over, right? Like he was not out of the
Yeah,
business, but he
no.
wasn't working as regularly. There's a really famous story with the original Sheik. I don't know if you ever heard this one about Sabu had a match at Halloween Havoc in WCW against
Hmm.
Jerry Lynn when he was Mr. JL, which if you've never seen this match, it's absolutely phenomenal. It was in Detroit at the old Cobo Hall Arena, which is where the Sheik, was super famous, right?
Yeah,
And the Sheik went into business for himself and threw a fireball at Jerry Lynn after the match, and
Jesus.
that was the last time we saw him on TV. He also broke his leg in the match because Sabu hit a moonsault and the Sheik was standing in the wrong spot and they all
Oh
bumped into the
no,
Sheik and broke his leg.
Jesus.
Sheik is a
And,
crazy man.
and of course, you mentioned this earlier when we were talking about Maple Leaf Pro, but he was also the head booker for Frank Tunney in Maple Leaf Wrestling. So a lot of the stuff that we saw back in what era would that have been, like 70s probably?
Yeah, it's probably the late 60s into the 70s,
Yeah,
mid
a lot of the stuff you
70s.
saw back then that was all chic right there.
The Sheik is he's the king and the death of that territory though. He really did huge business in Toronto, but he also ran the territory into the ground by
So
the end of it.
do you think like when you think of chic, do you think Toronto territory or do you think Detroit territory first? Like
Uh,
is he the Garden or is he Cobo Hall?
I think they're about 50-50 to me.
Yeah,
Like he was such a big impact in both of them. He was such a huge draw in both of them. I mean, I'd maybe lean to Detroit a little bit just because that was his hometown, but
right.
he was here all the time. He was in Japan all the time. Like
Yeah,
he was all over the place, right? I'm excited for Dark Side tonight. I
me too.
always the first time I ever saw the Sheik was there's this worked documentary that I saw back in the 90s. It was called I Like to Hurt People.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever seen it or not.
Yeah.
It's absolutely hilarious. Go out of your way to try to watch it if you can. It's got like a very young Terry and Dory Funk in it, Abdul the
Oh,
Butcher. It's just all this footage and it's just following the Sheik and like all these people trying to get him banned. And I don't know, it's weird. I can't really describe it, but it made me absolutely terrified of the Sheik. Like I was really scared to watch this movie when I was a kid, and I would
yeah.
watch it over and over again. I owned it, and my grandmother would let me watch it. She didn't know how violent it was, but it's just the Sheik stabbing people the whole time, and I was like 10 watching, and I'm like, oh my God, this guy's
I
terrifying.
I never saw that, and I was not introduced to this chic until I was probably in my 20s. but I have a very similar, very similar um, experience, but with Abdullah. I remember seeing Abdullah on an old VHS that I found in my uncle's old wrestling stash, and I'm watching it, and I don't even remember who he's facing, but Abdullah's just ripping this dude apart, just
Mhm.
murdering him, stabbing him with a fork and all this stuff. And my grandmother just walks in and says, "What the hell is happening here? Wrestling?"
Wrestling?
I think, yeah, man. Uh, everybody wants to go and say that hardcore was developed or whatever during the Attitude Era or early '90s in ECW. Go fuck yourself. Go back and watch some of the early stuff with Abdullah and the Sheik and those guys, and
Terrifying.
obviously the Funks. Man, that that was hardcore
Well, there's a lot of moments that we can talk about from Sabu's career and we can keep reflecting on, but maybe we'll get into my list and we can kind of just go from there and I've got a bunch of stuff written down and we can just share memories along the way
for sure.
as well. I do want to talk about kind of the controversy surrounding GCW and Sabu, but we'll
Oh
talk
yeah.
about it as the list goes on.
Okay.
Let's start then with my number seven. My number seven, I went back and forth on. I'm going to tell you what I left off my list for it because it's
Oh,
going to be like moments, matches, kind of whatever with Sabu. It's just kind of memorable things that he did. I really thought that his DDT to Rey Mysterio at ECW One Night Stand is an iconic moment.
I love that. Yeah.
I didn't put it on the list though because it was
Okay.
very, very
I probably would have, but yeah.
I went with something a little bit different, and my reasoning behind it is because of the historical impact behind it. And it's
Okay.
not because of the match itself, because I don't think the match itself is, the most exciting match on the planet. But I want to take it back to ECW's The Night the Line Was Crossed.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
As far as I'm aware, now I'm sure this isn't 100% accurate, but it's the first kind of triple threat match that I've ever heard of.
I want to say it was the first one on a major stage, anyways.
And it the fans went crazy about it and Todd Gordon
You
talked
kind
about
of
that.
you slightly buried this match. I actually really enjoy this match.
I mean, it's good, it's a very good match, but it's an hour long, so it's a little slow at times. And
Hmm.
but Terry Funk really really admired Sabu, and he went on record a lot of times to say how much Sabu inspired the later part of his career as well.
Right.
Terry Funk, Shane Douglas, and Sabu. Todd Gordon tells a great story about this in our archives about this match where the fans were just so into it that they all flooded the hotel after, and it was like this kind of moment. But yeah, without this match, though, I don't know where triple threat matches fall in the history of professional wrestling. This was kind of the match that got the ball rolling with those. So
Right.
I think from a historical standpoint, this is definitely one that you need to check off the list.
And if you remember, guess who else was on that card? That was a great pay-per-view, but I enjoyed this pay-per-view. But the Sheik was also on that pay-per-view.
Oh yeah, this wasn't a pay-per-view though. This was in like 94.
Well, whatever you wanted to call it back
Just a
then.
show, yeah.
Yeah, but they sold it somewhere.
Well, they would be like sold for like tape traders and
Yeah, I
stuff.
guess so.
The Sheik was
Uh
on this card?
yeah, it was him and Pat Tanaka versus Kevin Sullivan and the Tasmaniac.
That's so fun.
Yeah.
That's a really cool
Now it no there was nothing to it. If I'm not mistaken, I think they barely got in the ring. I think it was like a 3 minute match.
yeah.
But yeah, but still, that to say he was on that card and look at the people in that match: Pat Tanaka, Kevin Sullivan, Taz.
Yeah, that's a cool little thing. Yeah, the
Right?
Sheik had a cup of coffee in ECW for sure. Yeah, that's cool.
And
I also think it's
if I'm not mistaken, Jimmy Snuka took on Tommy Dreamer in that on that card too.
oh yeah, I've got the card pulled up right here. I'll tell you right now.
I think it was
Jimmy
that card.
Snuka, yeah, defeated Tommy Dreamer. Interesting. Bruiser Brothers, Don and Ron Harris.
Pretty sure that was still suspender Tommy.
The Sandman was on this card. Mr. Hughes, 911. Yeah, very interesting card.
911 sort of underrated, eh?
I mean, he'd come out, hit the choke slam, and make everybody go crazy.
Yeah, he never really found fame outside of ECW, and I always found that kind of sad.
I don't think he did anything outside of ECW,
I
did
don't
he?
think so either. No.
I know he dropped Sonny at the reunion show. That was funny. But yeah, and also at that reunion, so Shane Douglas's Hardcore Homecoming when WWE was doing the one night stand stuff, that this was the
Yeah,
main event for that as well. They revisited it,
that's right. I forgot about that.
no
Right.
ropes barbed wire match, right?
Hmm.
Number six, I want to shed some light to one of his more violent and famous matches, and that's the Stairway to Hell match versus the Sandman at November to Remember. Just sickening stuff in this match.
Yeah,
Like
I don't think I've watched this match in 20 years at least.
it's crazy the abuse that both of these guys go through in this match, and the Sandman, a huge part of the legacy of Sabu. They had some crazy matches together. Not always the smoothest matches on the planet, but they were crazy. And this was, the bumps these guys took. I don't know how they stood after this. It's insane to me.
Yeah.
Just go onto YouTube and type in Sandman versus Sabu highlights of Stairway to Hell and just sit back and just get ready to go, holy shit. My number five, we'll get into a conversation about this one because after yesterday, I almost took this completely off my list.
Okay. Yeah.
But I kept it on and I want to talk about it. But I put Sabu's retirement match on my list.
I have a question. Why, even without the current what came out yesterday, why did you choose to put this on your list, and why is it your number five?
I thought this was really incredible. Um, Not from, the wrestling sucked. Like, I won't say sucked, but the
But
it
this is why
was
I understand why it's on your list. Number
it
one,
was such a
the match
spectacle.
wasn't great. He didn't want to do it, so it's not like this is this great moment for him. He didn't want to fucking be there. So to me, this is almost a shit way to end his fucking career. I personally wouldn't have this on my list.
So we didn't
I,
know any of this information from until yesterday, right?
but we did. There was already rumors going around. People were talking at that show. We know this because we know people who were there. It was already being talked about at that show that Sabu was not in good shape and didn't want to wrestle that night. We already knew that as of that day. This is not news. We didn't talk about it because it was never confirmed out there. But you and I know people. We're benefited with friends through our podcast,
I have no friends.
and people talk to us, so we already knew we knew everything except for the name of this drug that he was allegedly given. Outside of that, we knew everything else. We knew he didn't want to have that match. We knew he didn't feel up to it. We knew that he was convinced to do so. I I have a very, very, very low opinion of this match even happening. I'm not a fan of this at all. I feel like they took that somebody. I'm not gonna say they because I don't want to point a finger. I'm not saying this is Joey Janela. I'm not saying this is Brett Lauderdale. I'm not even saying it's GCW. But somebody coerced this vulnerable man to go do what they're bidding and make a couple bucks for their 2,000 fucking people in the crowd.
I
I don't
look
know.
at it a
I'm
little
not a
bit
fan of this.
differently. I look at it a little bit differently than you. I agree with some of the points that you're saying for sure, but I don't think that like this vulnerable man was taken advantage of because like when we interviewed Rob Van Dam last year, he was talking about how Sabu was motivated to have another match and how they wanted to have a last match together. Like
Yes,
Sabu wanted to have a last
I
match.
agree with that point. But when you get to the day and he physically can't do it,
Yes.
you call a fucking audible.
And they were
You don't
working on it,
drug
right?
you don't drug the man and put him in the ring.
I don't
Now,
know.
now we don't know and we won't know. For all we know, he had that drug in his fucking duffel bag and he put it into his system himself. We don't know that part of it, and we never will. The only person that can tell us the truth about that is no longer with us. So I'm not even going to speculate anymore on the drug part. But we do know that a man who is not well physically and possibly mentally said, I don't want to do this match. And instead of saying, I get it, let's talk about it, or let's just figure it out a different way, it, they pushed him into the ring. Now, I don't want anybody pointing the finger at me saying that I blame this match or anything on the death of Sabu. This happened a month before he died. I don't know what killed Sabu. To my knowledge, the cause of death is still undetermined. At
They
least
have,
it hasn't been
they
made
haven't
public.
announced anything as of the
It hasn't been made
recording
public. So before
of
anybody
this
puts
show.
words in my mouth, I am not. I'm pointing the finger at GCW, Brett Lauderdale, or Joey Janela for his death. Nobody killed Sabu. Please make me like, don't put words in my mouth. But what I'm saying is, as far as that, take this death out of it. Even if he was still alive today, I would still say that match shouldn't have happened. And I felt like that before too.
So I'm gonna look at it from two different angles here. I'm not saying that these are the right angles to look at it. I'm just gonna look at it from different
Sure.
angles.
I don't think there's a right or wrong angle right now.
Um, from a fan standpoint, watching this match is why it's on my list.
Okay.
Sabu rocked the house, 2,000 people. Last match, barbed wire match. It was a classic Sabu outing. He took some.
Clusterfuck, yeah.
It was, but he took some fucking crazy bumps. He had the arena rocking. They were there with it the whole time. The Sandman did his thing. It was a very fitting um, ending match for Sabu to have. So that's why it's on my list.
I think the only one who benefited from this was Joey, because Joey got to wrestle his hero.
Yeah. Well,
Now,
I think Sabu was really into it leading up until probably the day of the show.
I won't lie.
Like
I
Sabu
lost it.
shot angles with them leading up to this show. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's not like they just promoted Sabu without him knowing that they
No,
were
I know, I
doing
know.
it. The other thing I will say that I think you give, I'm not going to say leeway is not the right word, but Sabu has a reputation of being difficult to work with, especially
Yes,
towards the end of his career.
yes.
I don't think that they knew what they were dealing with Sabu until he got to the building. Because if I'm the promoter and I'm hearing them go, Sabu says he's not going to work, I'm like, fuck you, get him to the building. Like, you know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? We've built this whole show around you. Now, when he shows up in the building and is in the condition that he's in, that's where the audible should have been called.
Mm-hmm.
So that part I do agree with you 100%. Um, I
I'm
think
not gonna
we're
lie. I did lose a tad of respect for Joey Janela after the match. His speech that he told, I felt was very backhanded. I don't feel it genuine. He's trying to talk, even the stuff he's saying, where he's like, "Oh, you're on my Mount Rushmore. You are my Mount Rushmore." It's like, okay, he's complimenting him, and then he pulls out this plaque. Here's the plaque you should have got last year when you no showed the Indie Hall of Fame. Was that necessary?
I think he was
Was that really fucking necessary?
it made Sabu laugh. I think that they were pretty good friends, so I think that's
Okay,
kind of friends
listen,
busting
man. If it
friends
was a
balls.
if it was a rip, if it was busting balls, and it just went over my head, so be it. I'm the idiot.
That's how I took it, at
I found it
least.
disrespectful. But listen, I don't know the dynamic there. You very well could be right, and I hope you are.
That's how I took it, at least. I don't know that for sure. That's just kind of how I took it. A little backhanded, like "fuck you, here you go," like
Yeah.
fuck, like
Uh,
how
the
we
o-
bust
the
each
only
other's balls.
the only person I respected less in that situation was Joey Janela's barber. Who
Um,
who did your hair, Joey? Come on.
I'm very, but now like hearing the whole story about how he showed up in that condition,
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think that we should have seen the match happen.
I totally agree with you.
I don't think it changes anything. I think when your number's called, your number's called. Now, who knows? Maybe there was a underlying injury or issue from that match.
We don't know yet.
He suffered a pretty serious concussion on that
Yes.
table. You know, the guy's 60.
Yeah.
That table bump was
He's
was
his
out of control.
his body is 60. His soul, no, his body is not 60. His
No,
soul is
his soul is
60.
60.
His body has been through way more than 60 years worth of fucking damage.
Hmm.
His mind, his brain, is not that of a 60-year-old man.
I think that I don't know if you read Brett Lauderdale's response
I
to.
did. I did.
I thought it was better than Joey Janela's. Let's say that.
Agreed. Yeah.
I don't think that they were in the right to put Sabu out there.
No. And I read that more as damage control than I did. Like he listen, he said a couple things about how he was devastated by the death and blah blah blah. I've known Sabu for 20 years and we became very good friends in the last two. Fine. But I read that as a damage control statement.
$100%.
I didn't read that as a I lost my friend today.
Also, like, if I'm Joey Janela, why are you going out there and saying all of this stuff? What?
That was my very first thought was Joey, shut the fuck up. Like, respect. The minute he passed away, you started talking all this shit and started telling everybody about this stuff. Let's number one, let's let the family grieve for a fucking second and a half and show a little respect for the dead right now. I don't think there's any respect being shown on Joy Janelle's part towards Sabu.
On
I
top
don't.
of that, also, like, it's a pretty shady thing that happened. So, like, why would you want to shine light on it? Wouldn't you want to
Yeah,
try to bury this thing? Like,
right.
not say anything about it? I don't know. There's a documentary coming out. I don't know if you've seen this or not, that they filmed about this whole day, like the last match and everything.
Mm.
They had to change the title of it because it was called Killing Your Hero or something like that. So
Yeah, let's
they've
go a different way on that one.
they've pulled the and they're gonna, now that he's passed away, they're gonna change the tone of the documentary as well.
I
And
would
they're gonna
agree.
add a bunch of more things in it. But so there will be a documentary put out,
Okay.
possibly. Who knows if it actually comes out now.
Mm.
Um, it had people talking though. That match, I will say, a lot of people consider that match to be one of the highlights of WrestleMania weekend. And it's hearing the stories behind the scenes is very disappointing. But I'll just say, from looking at it from a fan standpoint, it was a very nice way for Sabu to get one last match.
Yeah,
But now that I know what I know, I wish we never got it.
I agree.
So I will put it in my number five spot for
All right.
the spectacle of the match itself, and I'm not going to have it for anything other than what we saw in the ring,
Okay.
not for any of the backstage shit that we saw.
Hmm.
I mean, worst case scenario, we can just pull it right off my list and put the Rey Mysterio DDT on there.
That's it. Well, your number one through four can't be any worse than that. So it's only
Well,
up. It's only sunshine and rainbows from here.
number four, I think, is one of the most iconic visuals of Sabu's career. And that's when he hit the leg drop off the top rope through the table onto John Cena.
Yes. What
This
a
is
great moment.
this was originally my number two, but I
Okay.
changed it. I
All
changed
right.
it a couple times. Um, it's the only time that I've ever seen him hit this so smoothly, where he just stopped
Yeah.
and stood there, which was actually a botch, believe it or not. He
That's
was
funny.
he was
That's funny.
terrified up there
The
because normally it's just one fluid motion, and when he just like stopped up there and he was like, "Oh shit."
So the only time he didn't fuck it up was the time he fucked it up.
Pretty much, yeah. But this was an incredible visual. You know, let's call a spade a spade. The WWE is the biggest wrestling promotion of all time. And when you get put in that spot, now, the rest of the stuff was seen after this was not
No,
great for him.
no.
But you get put in a spot to lay out the top dog in the WWE no matter what. But to
Mhm.
do it in this fashion on Monday Night Raw, steel chair in the ring, and you hit one of your signature moves that nobody else can do. I don't see anybody else doing triple jump anythings.
No.
And yeah, I just thought the visual of this was incredible.
Yeah, I agree. This could have been your number two still, and I would have been okay. Yeah.
Well, my number three also happened on Monday Night Raw.
Okay.
And it's when he jumped slash fell off the
Love
R.
this. Love
This
this
is
so
such an
much.
iconic moment in the
It's an
history of
archaic
Monday
moment,
Night Raw.
and I know we giggle about him falling off the raw, off the R. but it was even without him falling. This was an iconic moment. Having the ECW guys there, I remember watching this Raw. I was gonna say live, but knowing the era, it was probably a Tuesday afternoon when
Yeah.
by the time we got to watch it here in Canada. But I remember watching it live, and it was so different because I didn't know about ECW. I knew about them. I read about them in the
Mhm.
PWI,
Me too.
but I'd never seen these guys for real before. And so seeing Taz and Sabu and these guys that look so they did not look like WWE wrestlers at all, and then of course King had to go and bury them and talk about how small they were and shit like that. But man, they were menacing, they were strange, they were unique, they were different. It was a very cool moment on Raw.
And Paul Heyman's iconic look at Sabu yell, and then he
Yeah,
goes to jump and the arm moves and he fell, and what a fall too. Nobody caught him. Like
yeah,
it was, but yeah, I just what a crazy moment. And that was like the perfect that moment perfectly sums up Sabu, in my
yeah,
opinion.
100%.
My number two, it's a two-parter that leads into each other that also ties in with falling off the R. It
Oh,
was his return to ECW, that lights out moment where he was face to face with Taz for the first time,
sure.
slash main eventing Barely Legal against Taz.
You know how I feel about Lights Out. I hate it being overdone, but when it's done right, it can be magical. And ECW, I think, did Lights Out better than anybody ever. My
100%.
top three Lights Out moments are probably all ECW moments, and
There's a list that we just stumbled upon.
I think so. This competes with Brian Pillman for my favorite Lights Out moment of all time.
I also like
Uh,
the lights out moment with Jerry Lawler in ECW.
oh, fuck yeah, you're right. That's in
Also,
competition for the number one as well.
also involving Sabu.
Exactly. Uh, they did that spot so well in ECW, and Sabu, it worked so well with Sabu. That spot was almost meant for him, because he had that aura to him. And this spot it made so much sense, and everything that followed was fantastic.
So the backstory to this as well is that Sabu had been fired from ECW publicly also by Paul
Mhm.
Heyman for choosing a Japan date over a big promoted ECW match. We hadn't seen Sabu in ECW for about a year and a half by this point,
Yeah,
and Taz always called him out. That was like Taz's new gimmick, coming back from his neck injury, and he always blamed Sabu for the stalling of his career, or for being a coward, or for not being with ECW or something.
yeah,
And all of a sudden, the lights went out one time, and they came back, and Sabu was in the ring, and that place went mental,
nuts. Yeah,
mental. And that was it. Off to the races to Barely Legal we go, the main event of the first ever ECW pay-per-view,
Mm,
where Taz gets the win with the double heel turn of himself and Bill Alfonso, and Taz turning face in the process. Super cool stuff, man. This was a big period in ECW, probably their biggest
absolutely,
period.
100%. This is when they hit the map. I mean, they're getting their first pay-per-view. This was make or break for ECW. Uh, this is quite old now. It's got to be at least 20 years old now. But anybody who hasn't gone back and watched that Rise and Fall of ECW DVD WWE put out years ago, it's probably the best produced WWE produced DVD ever made,
It's in my
because
top three, 100%.
it was uncensored. It was just everything was there. They almost left nothing out. So, and they tell this story very well about this pay per view and how it almost didn't happen, and what it meant to the company that it happened. Because if this, very much like the original WrestleMania, if this is a failure, the company goes down.
100%. Well, they almost went down leading up to this pay-per-view with New Jack and the mass transit incident, and
Yes.
and they
Yeah.
almost, like this pay-per-view. I guess this wasn't the main event of the pay-per-view because Terry Funk winning the title was
Yeah.
but this was the matchup the pay-per-view was built around. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, this was one of the more historic events in wrestling history. Was this event?
100%.
And of course, number one, a few months later, we see the most disturbing match of all time. Sabu versus Terry Funk in a no rope barbed wire match.
Yeah. This 100% should be your number one.
This match was so crazy that there was no finish to it. They actually got so tangled up with each
Had
other
to.
in the barbed
Yeah.
wire that they just had to pin to end the match.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Words will not do this match justice. Sabu does a running, jumping leg drop off of a chair. Terry Funk moves. Sabu hits the barbed wire and rips his bicep open with one of the biggest gashes you will ever see. And he just tapes it up in the middle of the match and keeps fighting. This match is insane.
Yeah, it's been a very long time since I watched this match, but I have like nightmares.
Yeah, it's a tough match to watch.
I have nightmares that are less scary than this match.
This was the last barbed wire match in the history of ECW. Paul Heyman would never book one again
I didn't know
be-
that.
because he said that nothing will top this match,
Yeah, yeah.
and I don't want anybody to try to top this match. So that's my
Makes
list.
sense.
That's my
Yeah,
Sabu list. Sabu won the world title in this match as well for the
that,
second time, I believe,
that's
or
right.
third time. I can't remember. I've got some quick honorable mentions.
Mhm.
Anything that I might have missed off the list for you, Mike?
No, I'm not even going to try with some honorable mentions. You know that as much as I respect what he did for the business, I was never, Sabu wasn't my guy. I wasn't the biggest Sabu fan in the world. Everything you mentioned today, I know those moments, and I agree they should be on your list, but I don't know his career enough to sit down and be like, hey, you forgot this, you forgot that.
Well, I'll bang them out quick then, and we'll bring it home here. There's that crazy fire death match in Japan with him and the Sheik, where the whole
Mm,
ring got caught on fire. His ECW debut we talked about earlier against Taz, where he came out on the gurney, that almost made my list. He won the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship in Japan. Great accomplishment. Um, Winning the ECW Tag Team titles with Rob Van Dam. They won a couple times. And a fantastic match to go to watch with him and Rob Van Dam versus Jinsei Shisaki, aka Hakushi and Hayabusa from Heatwave.
oh, nice.
Phenomenal tag team match. He won the NWA World Championship, so former NWA champion Sabu. His barbed wire match with Abyss was a very good one. His match with Rey Mysterio at One Night Stand, facing the Big Show at SummerSlam for the ECW World Title, and competing at WrestleMania 23. All moments that.
Um, Here's a question for you. Last week we discussed Rhino being one of, if not the only man to compete in every major promotion. Where has Sabu not wrestled?
I
He's
think,
obviously ECW. He's wrestling WCW, WWE,
yeah,
TNA,
yeah,
AEW.
yeah. He didn't wrestle in AEW. He made appearance in
He made an
AEW.
appearance. I guess. Yeah. Okay. So if we're just talking wrestling, then you're
He's
right.
fought in the Ring of Honor. He's fought in the NWA. He's fought in Japan,
Yeah.
Mexico.
Hmm.
Yeah, I guess Sabu's up there too.
Sabu's up there.
Cool
The man,
stuff.
the man was everywhere. Not to mention every indie imaginable. For a
Yeah,
while, if you had a couple $100 and you could get him out there, Sabu would do your show.
he. I'll tell two quick Sabu stories and we'll bring it home. He has a very legendary match in Toronto at Medieval Times against Abdul the Butcher where they went crazy. But I had one interaction with Sabu. It
Okay.
was for this podcast. I sent him a
Oh
direct
yes.
I sent him
Oh
a direct
yes.
message in the very
Yes.
early days of Counted Out
I remember this.
asking him if he was doing any interviews at the time, and he just replied back and said, "What's the pay?"
Yeah.
And that was the end of my conversations with
And that
Sabu.
is Sabu in a nutshell.
Sabu in a nutshell, brother. Give me that payday.
Yeah, give me that payday, and who can blame him, man?
100%, man. So
That's the business.
I'll give the old Sabu
I'll
finger point.
I'll take
Respect to the
that.
man.
I'll take that over an anger emoji any day.
But yeah, RIP Sabu, definitely a true legend of the business that I don't think ever got his proper flowers. But
Yeah.
controversial outside the ring, but pioneer inside the ring for sure.
I think he would be in the Hall of Fame today if he wanted to be.
Well, Sami
Um,
Zayn was pushing hard for him for years
well,
to go in.
and I've heard that too, but I think he was turning it down.
I don't
He
know
didn't.
about that.
I've heard he didn't want to go in because something to do with his uncle.
I'm not too sure. All I know is
Yeah.
that he was probably not the guy you want to give a live microphone to.
No, no. Next week we'll come back. I am going to count down the top 7 moments in the career of Ron Killings. Let's get ready to see R-Truth versus John Cena at Saturday night's main event, and I'm going to tell you exactly why he's the next man to face John Cena for that WWE title.
What's up?
I think he's a deserving spot, and let's look at his career a bit because as much as I love Ron's humorous character right now, he's done so much in the last 25 years. He's been everywhere. He was K Quick. He was Ron the Truth. He was part of 3 Live Crew. He's been NWA champion. He has done amazing things in the last 20 years in WWE. Let's talk all about that right here next week. I can't wait for that. Before you listen to that, though, please hit those subscribe buttons, hit those like buttons, tell everybody you know about the show. You're going to be able to see us around. Like we said earlier, at least Tyler, probably me, we'll be at Barry Wrestling on June 7th. That's Golden Glory 8. And that'll number one's gonna be a great show, but come and say hi. Tyler's always a busy guy at those Barry shows, but if you catch him with his microphone at his, not up here for once, go say hi. Go shake his hand. Come over to the count it out table. I'll be sitting there, possibly with my son, possibly with my big son Willie, and
That sounded weird.
come say hi to us. Always a good time at Barry Wrestling. Lots of other good wrestling happening around Ontario. If you have a show around Ontario that you want us to talk about, give us a shout. We'll talk about the show. We'll push any indie wrestling on this show because we love indie wrestling. We love Ontario wrestling. So let us know what you want to see us talk about right here on Count It Out. What do you got till next week there, bud?
I got nothing, man. I'm gonna watch
Got
Dark
nothing.
Side of the Ring tonight, and yeah, nothing, man. I'm boring. I'm a boring old man.
Boring old man. That you are. Until next week, my friends, you have been counted out.
Cheers.